Hey, good evening, everybody. My name is Dave Eldon, and I'm with my friend Dalton here.
Hey, guys.
Dalton, tonight, what are we going to talk about?
We are going to talk about timing and
priority. I was going to say that.
No, I said that.
No, but I wanted to say it too at the same time.
Yeah, but I had priority.
Did you?
Yes.
Okay, so this is exactly what we're going to be talking about today, is how does Magic solve these types of situations? And in fact, how does the game that we all play fix it when two people, like me and Dalton here, want to do something at the same time? Who gets to actually do that? And so the way it works is a system called timing and priority. You've probably heard you've heard the terms before. We're going to go into a lot of detail about exactly how that process works. So I'm gonna pass priority to Dalton here.
Perfect.
And he's gonna talk to us a little bit about the general overview of how timing and priority.
Of course. So priority is the way that we move through the game of Magic. In order to cast spells, activate abilities, all these different things that are necessary in the game, we must do so when we have priority. And this is the game's way of saying whose turn it is.
No, not literally.
Not their literal turn, but whose opportunity it is, we'll use as a better word, to act.
You could even say, like, who has priority to act.
Or whose turn it, or whose time it is.
Yeah.
Timing.
Yeah.
Perfect. So, in the game, whoever has priority is the one who is allowed to take actions. This could be casting a spell, this could be activating an ability of one of their creatures' permanents, or it could be responding to an opponent or even a teammate who is activating an ability or casting a spell. So when both players have given their consent to move forward, who have both passed priority in the game, only then can we actually progress further into the turn. So if we are in the pre-combat main phase and both players pass priority, only then can we move to the beginning of combat. If both players pass priority there, then we move forward to the declare attacker step. So unless we pass priority, unless we ever have it, we can't advance the game state.
All right, so that's basically priority in a nutshell. Summing it up, it's what we use in order to do game actions. And anytime you do anything in the game, with a few exceptions, you have to have priority in order to do that. And so let's talk about how you get priority then.
You have it.
Okay, so obviously it's a little bit more complicated than that.
Is it?
Yeah, it kind of is. So there's 4 different ways that you can get priority in the game of Magic, and this is broken down in the CR this way, so it's as good a way of any to introduce. So what do you think? Like we'll try and figure out what's the most obvious one, the first one that you would think of.
It's your turn.
Okay, great. So yeah, exactly. If it's your turn, then you get priority. So we'll formalize that a little bit more. Anytime it's your turn and the game goes to a new step or a new phase, you're going to get priority as soon as all the turn-based actions in that step or phase happen. So turn-based actions would be stuff like when you draw a card in your draw step, or when you declare attackers in the declare attacker step. Basically, it's whenever you do something in the something step. Those tend to be turn-based actions.
It's a great way to phrase it.
Yeah, it really is. It's maybe not 100% specific, but it should get you there in most cases. So there's a couple of exceptions. One of them, what do you think? Speaking of turn-based actions, which step with turn-based actions in it would you say you don't get priority in it?
Well, the first one is your untap step.
Yeah. This is you don't get priority in your untap step, and in fact, that's just like a thing. You can't get priority. There's no way in Magic to get priority during your untap step, and anything that happens in the untap step that requires priority actually just gets like pushed off to the next step, the upkeep step. So that's kind of interesting how that works. And then at the very end of the turn, something similar happens with the cleanup step. So generally people don't get priority in the cleanup step, but there's like some some weird exceptions to that we don't want to get into right now. We'll have a special episode all about that kind of sweet stuff in the future. It's going to be exciting. So yeah, it's your turn, and at the beginning of every step and every phase, the person who's the active player gets priority, and that makes sense, right? Like that's what you would expect out of the active player.
Only seems fair,
because they're the person who gets to act first. So what else?
So another way that you can get priority is through putting a spell onto the stack or an ability.
Yeah.
So there's our second way. If you put a spell or an ability onto the stack, you will be given priority back, regardless of whether it is your turn or an opponent's.
Yeah.
In most cases in Magic, if we have certain shortcuts that we can use, and a lot of times priority might just get passed to your opponent without anything being said. And a lot of timing and priority actually gets lost in shortcuts, which is a good thing in my opinion.
Goodness, yes.
If we had to declare when we were passing priority every single time we did so in a game of Magic, instead of 50-minute rounds, we'd be looking at 3-4 hours per round.
Yeah, the game would not be as popular if that were how it works. And in fact, there's a special shortcut of exactly that. This is like the most common shortcut, I think. If you were gonna do like statistically running the numbers on which shortcut gets used the most, it probably is the one that says anytime you play a spell or activate an ability and you don't explicitly say you're keeping priority, then priority is assumed to be being passed to your opponent. That one probably like happens the most in a normal game of Magic.
Yep. So like David mentioned, should you desire to do something else with your priority there, a lot of times we have to explicitly mention that we would like to retain priority in order to do so, because of that shortcut. If we activate an ability and we don't explicitly state that we are retaining that priority, tournament rules state that it's just assumed that it passes then to your opponent. So this is something to be aware of when you're really looking at timing and priority. Yeah,
and there's a couple of places in competitive Magic where this comes up. The most common and well-known one, I think, is in Legacy when you're playing the Storm deck. The interaction between Lion's Eye Diamond and the Infernal Tutor is such that you want to play the Infernal Tutor and crack Lion's Eye Diamond in response to Infernal Tutor so that you're hellbent when Infernal Tutor tries to resolve, but you get the mana before that. So the way you have to do that is you have to play the Infernal Tutor, hold priority, and crack LED in response to it. And so that's where you'll hear people say, I'm going to hold priority in response to my Infernal Tutor. I guess the other really common example of that would be like copying cards, like if you have Fork or Reiterate or something of those types. You can't just like play your spell and then have your opponent not do anything and then you respond to your spell by copying it, because we'll find out the reason to that in just a little bit.
Perfect.
But
so what's the third way that we can get priority, David?
Yeah, so the third way that you can get priority is actually, well, this one is really the fourth one that they write about, but we'll talk about. So if you aren't doing anything with your priority, then you pass, right? So then priority passes to the next person in line. And so the case that we were just talking about here, if I pass priority to you with my spell on the stack, and then you pass back, I don't have an opportunity to play my Fork or my Twin Cast or whatever copying spell it is, because we both passed priority in a row, and the rules say that when that happens, the top object of the stack resolves.
Correct.
So I'm not going to get another chance to respond to whatever spell that I cast. I already used my chance when I passed priority the first time. And that makes sense, because like if we didn't have that, then how would stuff ever resolve, right? Like if I had as many chances as I wanted to respond to stuff, and you had as many chances as you wanted to respond to stuff, then nothing would ever really get done. So that's the reason why that works that way. And so, yeah, if you cast a spell, then you're probably gonna, pass priority, and hopefully your opponent passes priority too, in which case the spell is going to resolve. And the priority will revert then to this is the fourth way that somebody can get priority in the game.
What a perfect segue.
I know, right? Wasn't that great?
So the fourth and final way that someone can receive priority in a game of Magic is at the resolution of a spell or ability. So when I had priority, I cast a spell, I put it on the stack. I'll pass priority to David, or after casting it, I retain priority, but I have nothing to do with this, so I'd pass it to David, who would then pass the priority back, as he has nothing else to do with it. And now that we have both passed priority, we can advance the game state. With my spell on the stack, we begin to look at that. As it resolves, priority is once again passed to the active player at the resolution of any spell or ability. And for me, this was one of the more confusing parts of the game. When you cast a spell, priority is given to whoever cast the spell or activated the ability, but upon the resolution, it goes to the active player. And the active player is whoever's turn it is in the game of Magic. And by turn, I am speaking
literal
of the
turns this time.
Game's turns, yes. So, at the resolution of any spell, mine or David's, as soon as that spell resolves, I will receive priority as the active player.
All right, so that's kind of abstract. I don't suppose we have any Magic cards that we could use to exemplify.
Well, you see, David,
stuff.
I don't have Magic cards.
Yeah, we're judges. We don't play Magic, right? Is that
we
the
just judge it?
Is that the idea? So I happen to have here's some I prepared earlier. So this
You're
is
prepared.
Oh, goodness. Whoa, goodness me, yes. So okay, here's what we can do. Me and Dalton are gonna go through in a sequence of actions, and when we do that, we're gonna explicitly say every time that we're passing priority.
Oh boy.
So we're gonna play like the least fun few, not even a full turn, mind you, just like a few cards worth of a game of Magic, and it is gonna be like a lot less fun than you're probably hoping it would be, because we're gonna talk about every single thing that we're gonna do. So, okay, here's what I have in hand. I have one card. It's this peek. I'm peeking at you, and so you're gonna try and fatal push my crappy creature. We don't know which creature it's gonna be. Some creature, doesn't really matter. But you don't have any mana, so you're gonna need this.
Ah, perfect.
You're gonna need a swamp. So, right. So that's what your hand is. Your hand is Swamp Fatal Push, and it's your turn.
Perfect.
And I have like some creature in play. Doesn't matter what it is. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna have you play the swamp and Fatal Push my creature.
Okay.
And I'm gonna, hopefully this peak is gonna do something. I don't know if it will, but we'll find out.
All right.
And we have I have lots of mana. You only have one mana, but I have infinite mana, so I can just tap anything.
So that does not seem like fair Magic.
Well, I'm playing blue, so right out of the gate, there's got to be like something. So let's try it. Let's try it. Let's see how it works.
Untap.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't have any permanents.
Yeah. No.
But I also don't receive priority.
Yeah.
Nor does David.
Not yet.
So let's move to upkeep.
Okay. Still don't have any permanents.
No permanents still, but I'll go ahead and pass priority to David.
Okay, I'll pass priority too.
Great.
I think we're probably not ready to play this awesome instant yet.
Cool. I'll go ahead and draw my card for the turn.
Okay.
Let's pass priority.
All right, I'll pass priority also.
Cool. So now that we've both passed priority simultaneously, I'm good to move into my pre-combat main phase.
Yep.
So let me go ahead and play this swamp.
All right, I'm gonna respond to the swamp.
Ooh, can't do that.
What? Why not?
Well, playing a swamp is one of a few special actions in the game of Magic.
Okay.
That does not pass priority.
Yeah, you don't need priority passes for the special action to happen. It just happens.
Mm-hmm.
So because he played a land, playing a land's a special action, I don't get priority. I don't get a chance to respond to that.
Mm-hmm. So I'll go ahead and tap that swamp for some mana.
Okay, I'll respond to that.
Sorry, can't.
Come on. Like,
What?
who's the blue player here?
You are.
Keeps on
Apparently
saying
you're doing really bad
Keeps on
at it.
saying that I can't do what I want to do.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
so why
'cause you're
can't I?
cheating.
Why can't I?
So, not a special action, but somewhat similar. Activating a mana ability is also not something we put onto the stack, and as such, it does not pass priority.
Yeah, it just happens. So that's a special type of activated ability. Ordinarily, if he activated an ability, I'd be able to respond. But since it's a mana ability, that's not the case here.
Correct. So I see that you have a creature there.
Yeah.
It is
Usually,
a Hedron crab.
Oh gosh, usually it's a grizzly bear.
No, you're a scummy mill player.
Scummy bill player, man.
So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cast Fatal Push on your Hedron crab.
Okay, alright.
So I'll put that onto the stack. I don't want to cast that card, so I'm going to go ahead and pass priority.
Alright, so right now in your pre-combat main phase, you've played a land and cast Fatal Push. Now,
You bet.
my Hedron crab is very important to my game plan here. So I am gonna see if I can figure out a way that I can save it. So I'm gonna play this Opt. Opt is a really
not
sweet
an
card.
Opt.
Yeah, it's not. It's Peak. It's even better than Opt in some cases, but not in this case. But yeah, we'll play the Peak in response to Fatal Push. And now both players are gonna go in the tank and like keep on waiting until one of us like says what's going on. Who has priority now after I play this Peak?
So I passed priority after Fatal Push, which gave David the opportunity to play Peak.
Yep.
So now that he has cast a spell, he gets priority.
Yeah.
Assuming we're not going off of tournament shortcuts stating that if he does not explicitly state he is retaining it, it passes. We're still going to state that he has it right now.
Yeah. So because we're doing everything 100% explicit and we're not using any shortcuts at all, yeah, I still have priority after casting this Peak. I'm going to pass priority to Dalton.
I'm fine with David looking at my hand and drawing a card. He could even look at his own hand. I don't know. Who are you targeting with that Peak?
Oh, good point. I'm targeting you.
Okay.
I'm going to target you.
Well, I'm fine if he sees my hand. So
Okay.
I also don't have any more mana because for some reason,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
this rigged game of Magic, I only have one land. So I'll go ahead and pass priority. Ah, perfect.
There
There's
you
some
go.
blue.
I found you. I'll share with you. There's a treasure token maybe. So
Thanks.
what happens now?
So
Now that you passed priority.
you pass priority,
Okay.
I pass priority.
So we both passed priority consecutively with neither of us taking any action. So Peak is now going to resolve. So I'm going to draw my card using Peak, and I
Oh.
get to look at your hand.
It's a Spell Pierce.
Spell Pierce. Okay. So now we're going to play this card that I drew. This is a really great Magic card. It's a counter spell. You've probably never seen it before. It's called Traumatic Visions. It has basic land cycling. It also has counter target spell on it. Right. So now that I drew my counter spell, I want to counter Fatal Push, but can I?
Not yet,
Okay. Why not?
because as his Peak resolved, even though it was his spell, I am the active player, and so I will receive that priority.
All right. So I don't get a chance to Traumatic Vision just quite yet.
Nope, sucker.
Okay. So you have priority. What you gonna do?
I'm just gonna wait.
Okay. You don't want to Spell Pierce your own spell.
No.
Okay. Well, I'm going to tap 5 mana, and I'm going to play this Traumatic Visions targeting Fatal Push to save
Well,
the Hedron crab.
I didn't pass priority. I just said I'm gonna wait.
You're going to wait.
I can do that, right?
Slow play. I'm going to give you a warning for slow play.
Yeah, don't do that. That's slow play. So I'll pass priority to David. He chooses to play Traumatic Visions.
Yeah.
I see that he only has 1 mana left.
Okay.
So I'm going to take this
We're running out.
opportunity to add some blue mana, not passing priority,
Yeah.
and cast Spell Pierce, targeting his Traumatic
my,
Vision.
My spell.
It's been pierced.
All right. So Spell Pierce gets
I have
played.
priority.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Let's go ahead and pass it.
All right. So I'm going to pass priority 2. Unfortunately, I can't make 2 mana. So
So this spell will go ahead and resolve. He cannot pay
Traumatic
it to,
Visions
and it
is
would be
gonna
countered.
Be countered.
So we would look onto the stack. Traumatic Visions has been countered, so it is no longer there. And now we can keep moving down
Yep.
until finally we hit that Fatal Push.
Yep.
I'm gonna pass priority again.
All right, and I'm gonna have to pass priority also. R.I.P. Hedron Crab. Hopefully this like Glimpse the Unthinkable or something is gonna get there with the rest of the cards that I have access to. So wasn't that fun, guys? Aren't you excited about timing and priority now after like seeing all that like really in-depth detail of how you get to play Magic? I think we should make a new rule that people can't use shortcuts anymore or go through any of them. So yeah, if you think Magic is boring at sometimes when your opponent's in the tank, just think about how fun and exciting of an opportunity it would be if there was no implicit priority passes. Just think about that. My gosh, the game is so great. And this is something I really have to give the game designers a lot of credit for, is that everybody who plays Magic does this all the time. And the like excruciating detailed stuff that we just did, that's like a part of the game always. But in real life, Magic games don't have all of that stupid junk going on in them, so it's way more streamlined. So the timing and priority system that we have right now is actually really phenomenal when it comes to having intuitive results and having having a way for us to get to those intuitive results without having a bunch of like meaningless or irrelevant priority passes.
Correct. That took us about probably 5 minutes in something
Per
that we
turn.
could have summed up in about 10 seconds.
Yeah.
That could have been as easy as push your crab.
I'm going to opt in response.
You peek, but that's okay. Go ahead, draw your card.
I wanted it to be opt.
Sorry.
So I draw my card. Oops, I'm going to traumatic visions your fatal push.
Sorry, spell pierce.
Aw.
Done.
Just that easy, friends. Just that easy.
And to be completely honest, when I started playing Magic, timing and priority, I didn't know what it was, but I was able to understand the game of Magic. The individual who taught me how to play, I think of him as a very great player, and I think of him very highly. He didn't bother teaching me the words timing and priority. He never mentioned when you receive priority, when it's passed. It was just part of the game that, without having to really be explained, I somehow understood. Now, I didn't understand things like, oh, you played your Liliana, I want to bolt it. Why do you get to activate that ability first? So there are some things that do seem a little bit harder to comprehend, but for the most part, it's a really great process. And as David mentioned, the game designers did a phenomenal job with it.
All right, so now we've talked about all the different ways that you can get priority, and we've gone through a really in-depth example that shows all the different ways that you can get priority. Have you got any more examples that you want to talk about?
I don't. I'll go ahead and pass to you. Do you have any examples?
Oh, we're passing priority again. Well, it just so happens that I might have one or two.
Thought you would, David.
One or two exciting examples of how priority works. So this is going to be kind of an interesting one. We're gonna transition over to playing some modern here. Anybody ever seen this awesome card here, Leonin Arbiter? And he's a really fun and interactive Magic card.
Arbiter?
Yeah, he bites. He really does to play against. That is. So
Perfect.
If you're not familiar with this card, what it says is that players can't search libraries, and any player may pay 2 for that player to ignore this effect until end of turn. So the paying 2 in order to bribe Leonin Arbiter here is an example of a special action. So this is just like playing a land, except unlike playing a land, there aren't any timing restrictions on it, so you can do it anytime you have priority. It doesn't have to just be your turn on your main phase. So we're going to have Leonin Arbiter in play, and I am going to let's start really basic. Okay?
Great.
So you're going to fetch.
Okay.
Or you're going to want to fetch.
Sure.
But you can't fetch yet because Leonin Arbiter is in play. Okay, so you pay 2 mana.
All right. I'll tap my island and my swamp that I have.
Okay, so the question is this. I have a wasteland. Can I use wasteland targeting your fetch land in response to you paying 2 so that you can't search?
No.
Okay, why not?
Because I'm really good at guessing answers.
Yep.
No, so the reason is Leonin Arbiter is, as Dave mentioned, a special action. Priority is not passed for special actions.
Yes.
Tapping the mana, activating those mana abilities of the 2 lands I have, is also not a special action, but it's a mana ability, which means that priority is not passed as well. So he cannot respond to me tapping mana to pay that cost.
All right, exactly right. So the way this will work, if we're gonna go through every individual step, is you have a fetch land in play.
Sure.
You're tapping those 2 lands. Those are both mana abilities, so there's no priority passes there.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're gonna say, I'm gonna pay 2 with Leonin Arbiter. And again, that's a special action, so there's no priority passing there. That just happens. So at no point do I have priority to activate Wasteland's ability on your land.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's good.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. Well, gosh, that card would be super lame if that were how that worked. It's like, yeah, I'll respond to you paying 2 by killing your land. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, how lame. So okay, that's one. That's a good one. So let's step it up a little bit here.
Oh no.
Okay, we're gonna change things around. So you have a fetch land in play.
Okay.
And you're gonna activate your fetch land.
Sounds great.
But it's not as great as you think because I have Lunar Arbiter in play, and you forgot. So.
But I never forget.
Yeah. Well, hypothetical player X forgets. Sometimes players forget about stuff every now and then. So.
All right.
You have 2 mana. You want to pay it off? Can you?
So I'm going to go ahead and tap my fetch, pay the 1 life to activate that ability.
Yeah.
And I'm going to reach for my library.
Yeah.
And then I think to myself, oh no, what have I done?
Yeah, it's a terrible thing to waste. A fetch land is a terrible thing to waste.
And then I look at David, and I think, can I sneak this past him? Is there any possible way that I can kind of sideways tap these?
Judge!
No, I can't. I can't do it. David, why can't I do it? Rub it in my face.
All right. So the way that it works is the following. When you activate this ability of the fetch land, in order for it to resolve, you have to pass priority. And after that happens, I'm going to immediately pass priority. And at that point, the top object of the stack is going to resolve. In this case, the top object of the stack is fetch land activation. So that's going to resolve, and Leonin Arbiter is going to be like, oh, players can't search libraries, so nothing really interesting is going to happen there. And this is just like before, where you don't get a second opportunity to get priority in between, when you activate an ability or when you cast a spell and when it resolves. You only get 1 opportunity to respond to it generally if I pass priority.
Correct.
So I'm gonna put a caveat in there. That's like the 100% technical rules lawyery way to answer that question. But there's a couple of things. Number 1 is that let's say you haven't adjusted your life total yet on your life pad, right? So if that's the case, then you can kind of argue that, well, I didn't fully pay the cost of activating the ability, so technically I'm still in the process of activating the ability, so I'm going to hold priority while I'm activating this ability, and I'm going to respond to the fetch land by paying 2. So that's one thing you could do. That's one kind of interesting out that you have. There's also the out of your opponent not being a try hard super troll.
But who knows? Maybe it's day 2 of a GP,
Yeah.
a decision like this really does matter.
100% day 2 of a GP, I'm calling a judge. 100%.
And that's nothing to be ashamed of. That's part of the game.
Yeah, now if this is an F&M, I'm going to tell the guy, look, bro, come on, be cool. Let's be real here.
Yes. So, this is one of those cases earlier where we mentioned tournament shortcuts, and this is one of those situations where if I'm activating that ability, I really need to be aware of that retaining priority.
Yeah, that's a very important shortcut in this type of a scenario. All right, so here's another one. Let's say that I'm going to ghost quarter your land.
Oh, great.
Right?
More questions.
Well, let's be real here. If I have a Leonin Arbiter in play, what's the chances that I don't have a ghost quarter, right? It's one of those, they always have it kind of a deals.
Bad
right?
mulligans?
Right. So okay, so we got our BFF Leonin Arbiter. He's still taxing everybody.
You have him.
Okay, I'm gonna ghost quarter your land.
Okay.
Right. Now obviously ghost quarter is one of those things where you get to tutor for a land.
Sure.
Would you like to search for a land?
Thank you.
I have to ask that
search
now.
For a land.
Okay. Well, you actually can't because Leonin Arbiter says you can't. So you can't go straight into the I'm gonna search for a land, because remember our last question where you can kind of get trolled by that pretty hardcore. So I'm gonna ghost quarter your land, pass priority.
David, that's a great idea, but I, the smart player, am going to go ahead and pay 2 mana.
All right.
And I'm going to pay Land and Arbiter's tax.
Okay. So I thought he might do that, but I have a secret weapon. Aven Mind Sensor. This is the OG Aven Mind Sensor. No Amonkhet alt art nonsense. We got the rubric
I
way.
like the Amonkhet alt art on nonsense.
Yeah,
I think it's great.
I do too, but this is the one that I have, so I sure as heck don't have the masterpiece or whatever they're called, Aven Mind Sensor.
Is it an invocation?
Yeah, it's something like that. Yu-Gi-Oh card, whatever you want to call them. So
it's a GX.
But here's the thing, though, right? Can I play the Aven Mind Sensor after he's committed to paying 2 mana for Leonin Arbiter, but before he actually gets to search?
So I think the easiest thing to do would be to break this down.
Yeah, exactly.
So he is activating Ghost Quarter's ability.
Right.
So let's go ahead and put that on the stack here.
Okay.
So we have Ghost Quarter's ability.
Yeah.
You're going to pass priority. You want to blow up my land.
That's right.
That's a great
I
idea.
definitely want him to pass priority right now.
Yep. So I'm going to pay the 2 as a smart player.
All right.
And I'll pass priority.
Okay.
So now we've both passed priority simultaneously.
Yeah, in a row.
He passed priority to me so that he could activate that ability of his Ghost Quarter. I paid the tax, which is a special ability, so priority would not be passed back to David before I do so. So unfortunately for him, this ability just resolves.
Ooh, okay. So let's break this down a little bit. In order for the top object of a stack to resolve, the players both have to pass priority in succession. That's the text in the CR. And what that means is that I have to pass priority without doing anything with it, and you have to pass priority. Yeah, so you have to pass priority without doing anything with it either.
Okay.
And so, but you did do something, because you activated your mana abilities and you paid 2 for Leonin Arbiter, which is a special action.
But it's a special action.
Yeah, it's a special action.
But David...
Yeah, even though the special action isn't a spell or ability, it still counts as doing something with your priority. So, in fact, both players have not passed priority in succession, which means that Ghost Quarter's ability isn't going to resolve yet. So he has to pass priority with Ghost Quarter ability on the stack, and in order for Ghost Quarter to resolve, I too would have to pass priority in order for that both players passing in succession to be true. So, but of course I'm not going to do that because I have Aven Mind Sensor. So I'm going to jam that, Windmill Jam, 3 mana, and now even though you paid 2, you only get to search 4 cards.
So not only did I find out that I am not as smart of a player as I thought, and that David was in fact the smarter player, now I only get to search for 4 cards.
Aw, hope you got some basics in there, bro.
Nope.
Oop. Bad beats. So, Leonin Arbiter is one of my favorite Magic cards. Not to play or play against, but like to use in these example questions. It's really great. It really is a top-notch Magic card. Nobody has ever like heard of this card before, and then like sweet example questions come up.
True.
So we've got a question in the chat. It asks, is there a scenario where you can hold priority when priority doesn't instantly switch over to my opponent? And so I guess the answer to that question is your opponent always gets a chance to respond anytime I do something, because in order for the top object of the stack to resolve, both players have to pass priority in succession. And so as a result of that, there isn't ever going to be a way for me to play something and then you to not be able to respond to it.
That would be unfair.
Yeah, I mean, it would be unfair. They tried that in Time Spiral Block. It was a mechanic called Split Second, and that sort of works that way. But split second functions by saying as long as this is on the stack, then players can't cast spells or activate abilities. So the priority passes still happen as normal. It's just that they aren't able to do anything with them.
Correct.
So that's kind of a, sort of like that. But yeah, no, you can't hold. You can hold priority and cast some more spells after, like, in response to the spells that you played, but you can't, keep your opponent from responding to each and every one of those spells before it resolves.
So, I have a great idea, David.
What's that?
Let's say we're playing, okay?
Oh, I guess. I've played Magic once or twice before.
I like playing it somewhat. I have this really cool card that I think is really cool, and it's
Okay.
going to win. That's how Magic works, right?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So, let's say it's your turn, all right?
All right.
We're going to go to your pre-combat main phase. We'll say you pass priority up to there.
Okay.
You play your land for the turn, and I say, hey, David, can I have priority?
Well, sure.
All right, I'm going to pass priority. Sucker! Now we're in combat.
So, yeah, if you
Does that work?
The answer is it used to. If you've ever read the MTR, the section about shortcuts,
One of us has.
tournament
One of us
shortcuts.
hasn't.
Yeah.
Guess who?
It's section 4.2 if you wanna read that. So in that section, there's a really kind of an interesting line, and what that says is a player cannot request priority and do nothing with it. If they do, the request is annulled and priority reverts back to the player who originally had priority. Now, if you have ever, read, if you were like having trouble sleeping at night or something and you wanted to read through that section, that line might have seemed a little odd to you. What do we need that for? And this is why. This exact kind of situation is why. Because if it wasn't for that line, then someone could do a gotcha that's literally exactly like that. It's like, I'll be thinking in my pre-combat main phase, I'll be, okay, do I want to play this creature? Do I want to play this sorcery? And then the opponent can basically get you to F6 up to the combat phase with a little tricky trick. So obviously, that's not the kind of Magic that we want to reward. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a little line in the MTR that says you can't do that. And that's literally exactly how it works. It doesn't work because we already saw that trick before, and it's not going to work. It's fool us once, shame on you. Fool us twice, shame on me. Kind of a deal.
So, there's no real life F6.
Yeah. I mean, there
probably
is. There's saying go. That's a shortcut.
I guess that's true.
Yeah. But that's not really an F6. That's like an F3, I think, is the one, or F8. One of the F buttons would like pass priority, but if they did something, then you would immediately get priority back.
Huh.
So it's better than F6 in most cases. So okay, here's another kind of fun example that I had thought about.
Which means that this is going to be awful for me.
Oh gosh, it's not. Why do people always say stuff like that when I have fun examples?
It's pretty much a walking comprehensive rule book. As well as the Magic Tournament rules and Infraction Procedure Guideline. This man has it all memorized.
Not all of it.
This man has 99% of it memorized.
We're getting closer, but
So when he has something that's really fun and exciting, that means it's going to be awful.
All right. So I guess if we're getting a little bored of fun and exciting questions, we can go back to kind of a more mundane one. So let's say I've got a twin cast, right?
All right.
Okay.
Sounds great.
So I'm gonna play my twin cast, and we'll say we'll bring back our friend Peak. Right, Peak is a great card. Everybody loves Peak.
Or is it Opt?
It's Peak still. I keep wanting it to be Opt, but it still isn't. I don't know what happened. So okay, I'm gonna play my Peak, and I'm gonna twin cast it, and then you're gonna do whatever you want to do. I don't care.
Okay.
But we're gonna think about exactly how that works, right? So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play the Peak because I have priority, and I'm gonna play a spell. And for fun, Peak is an instant, right?
Yes.
So we'll say that this is happening during your turn. Yeah, it's not Jit Probe. Yeah, it's a much better card than Jitaxian Probe because it's an instant. So we'll say it's your turn, and I'm playing the Peak as the non-active player. So I'm gonna play the Peak.
Okay.
All right. So I want to twin cast it. I want to use this twin cast that I have in my hand. But so how does that work? Let's think about this for a little bit. We already know that if I pass priority, he's probably just going to pass priority back, and then peak is going to resolve. So I won't have a chance to cast the twin cast at all because we both will have passed priority in succession, and the peak will just resolve at that point, right? So what's actually going to happen is I have to play the peak and then hold priority and respond to peak with twin cast, right? And then it'll work the way that I'm hoping it will, right? So peak on the stack and then twin cast, and because I just cast that spell, I'm going to get priority again, and now I'm going to pass priority.
Correct.
All right?
And so if he doesn't retain priority there, and for some reason, say he forgets to maybe, he just has to sort of hope that I respond to his peak.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like you mentioned, it will resolve, and he will have passed priority, I will have passed priority in succession, and he will not get the chance to cast that.
Yep, no good.
Twin
cast.
Not twin bolt.
Not familiar with these bulk rares from Saviors of Kamigawa block, huh?
I am not
I
familiar
think they
with
had
much
it in
from
10th
Kamigawa.
edition also. It was kind of a big deal when they reprinted it.
When did you start playing Magic, David?
So Champions of Kamigawa was like the first block, the first full block. I played in Darksteel, was the first set that I played in, but Kamigawa was the first block. So unlike many, I actually have a soft spot in my heart for Kamigawa block.
Very nice.
Okay. I remember that card. I remember when it was spoiled. It was a big deal. It was a big deal. So, okay. Now it's on the stack.
Okay.
I passed priority. What are you going to do?
Well, I really don't care about him looking at my hand and drawing a card.
Okay.
I'm just going to pass priority.
All right. So both of us pass priority. The twin cast is going to resolve, and it's going to create a copy of peak, and now the stack is going to be peak, copy of peak. So who gets priority now?
Chat. No. So
Yeah, 1 in the chat if you think Dalton gets priority, 2 in the chat if you think I do.
So he casts his twin cast.
Yeah, the twin cast just resolved, and it made a copy of peak because that's what twin
Makes the
cast
copy.
does.
So the copy goes on the stack.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's not a card. Does that matter?
Nope.
No, it doesn't. It's still a spell on the stack.
Yeah,
So, but you didn't cast it.
that's right. That's what matters. Because I didn't cast it, the rule that says the person who casts a spell gets priority after they finish casting it doesn't apply.
Correct.
So the rule that does apply is the one that says after a spell or ability finishes resolving, the active player gets priority. So that means that after twin cast resolves, Dalton is the first person to get priority.
Correct. He got his priority back when he cast twin cast. Man, that's really rough to say.
Yeah, isn't it great?
So he got his priority back then, but because twin cast makes a copy of the spell, does not cast it, it rather just puts it on the stack, that priority does not return to him, and so I will get priority to respond to both of those spells.
Yeah. So what you gonna do?
Nothing.
All right. So I'm also gonna pass priority, which means that the copy of peak is gonna resolve. I'm gonna look.
Wait. I didn't say I'm gonna pass priority. I just said nothing. Is that fine?
Is there a difference?
What if I say yep?
Yup is a little bit of a hazier one. Go is
sure.
a specific shortcut.
Or
Yeah. Real Magic players say stuff like that.
There's a
all the
lot of
time.
ways you can pass priority.
Yeah, you don't have to explicitly say it every single time. And thank goodness, because that would be quite the gotcha game if you had to say a specific magical word or phrase in order to actually pass priority.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so both of us have passed priority in response to the copy of peak. Copy of peak is going to resolve. I'll look at your hand.
All right, it's Swamp Island Push Pierce.
Okay, so I'm going to draw a card, and while I draw the card, I'm going to be kind of snickering because he has a Spell Pierce in his hand, right? He could have stopped me from drawing a card. He could have Spell Pierced. Well, what would you pierce in this case?
Well, I could pierce a lot of things.
Yeah. Well, there's two options, right? Like in this specific scenario, you can pierce the peak or the twin cast.
Or I could pierce the copy.
Yeah, you could pierce the copy even. But I already looked
That's
at
already
his hand,
resolved.
so the copy resolved already. But that's a one that he could have also done. Would have been spell piercing the copy. So strategically, one of those has a higher value than the others, and that's the original Alpha Peak, or I guess 10th edition Peak, as the case may be. So
First peak.
yeah, the original Peak has a special strategic value, and the reason for that is that when Twin Cast is on the stack, it targets Peak, which means that if he spell pierces in response to Twin Cast, he could spell pierce the Peak, and the Peak would get countered, and then when Twin Cast tries to resolve, it doesn't have a legal target anymore, so Twin Cast would get countered also. So that's the inherent danger when you're using these like copying cards, is if they spell pierce your original thing that you're copying, then you lose everything. It's like an easy 2-for-1.
Well, it might also help if your twin cast wasn't a planes, David.
Well, I'm sorry, but I'm not some kind of a millionaire who has like every bulk rare from, Sabers of Kamigawa.
I don't think you can require yourself to be a millionaire and also refer to bulk rares.
One in the chat if you think that Twin Cast is a bulk rare. So chat, look it up on TCG Player and see what we got. See how much money I would have to get to put a real live Twin Cast. We'll open that up for the Patreon. We'll get a Patreon and people can donate and I'll buy a Twin Cast so that we'll have a real one. So we'll get less confused. For examples like this. So that is how copying cards work. It's kind of counterintuitive. The first time when I encountered it, I was actually not savvy on that interaction until someone got me with it, and the first time after that it came up for me, I got someone else with it because I was the one who knew how it worked this time around. And so it really is, this is one of those ones that doesn't work as well as it possibly could, but if you know how timing and priority works, then you should be able to suss it out pretty straightforward, because the actual stuff that's going on isn't particularly complicated. It's just, if you've never seen it before, it might catch you off guard. So, let's see. One last example.
I think I know this example.
Well, maybe you do. If you're a loyal friend and true, and you read Judging for the Win, you probably do, because this is something that I published previously.
Hey everyone, go read Judging for the Win.
blogs.magicjudges.org/FTW. It is a lot of text-based coverage. If you like reading more than you like hearing people talk, then you might like that format just as well or better as what you're watching now. So it's like when they go on Let's Make a Deal and they're like, do you follow us on Twitter? Because if you do, then you know what like random item to put in your pocket, so we'll give you $100 if you have it. So it's that same kind of a thing. So if you read, you might have seen this example before. So let's say this is absolutely phenomenal, right? What I'm about to do here. So what I'm going to do is I have a chromatic sphere in play. All right.
It's still planes.
Yeah.
But now it's a chromatic sphere.
Well,
planes.
no. This is a planes. My chromatic sphere is going to be this face down magic card.
Perfect.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I am going to activate my face down magic card. And I'm going to draw a card.
Sure.
And the card I drew is going to be Jace. So
You're drawing the card from Chromatic Sphere, correct?
From Chromatic Sphere.
Just to clarify.
Yep. So I'm going to play my Jace.
All right.
And then I'm going to uptick to 5 loyalty.
All right.
Okay. Now,
Oh boy.
while this
What
is
if
happening,
I wanted to do something?
yeah, you do want to do something.
I do.
So while this is happening, you have that fatal push from before.
No, I have lightning bolt. I want to kill Jace.
You want a lightning bolt? Okay. Well, I don't know. Your lightning bolt looks a little bit like a face down fatal push, so I don't know.
Fine.
So he's got a lightning bolt. He wants to take Jace out. Jace the
You're gonna
Swamp
make me get out my
Sculptor.
real cards.
Yeah. The question is this. The question is, at what points during this sequence is Dalton going to be able to play his Skullcrack?
Skullcrack.
So it's a better lightning bolt.
Not a bolt.
Better lightning bolt.
Close enough.
To remind everybody, what happened was I have Chromatic Sphere in play. What I do is I play a land.
Okay.
I tap the land for mana.
Mm-hmm.
I use Chromatic Sphere's ability.
Yep.
Put it in my graveyard and draw a card.
What is Chromatic Sphere's ability? Just clarify.
Oh yeah, and if you don't have a very real Chromatic Sphere in front of you, the ability says 1 tap, sacrifice Chromatic Sphere, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, draw a card.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the ability that I activate. I'm going to draw my card with that, and then I'm going to use the mana that I used with Chromatic Sphere and 3 more lands to play a Jace, and then I'm going to uptick Jace.
Sure.
So the question is, at what points during this sequence can he play a Skullcrack, which is an instant?
Yep. So we're going to start in the pre-combat main phase there.
Yeah.
So he plays his land, special action,
All right.
does not pass priority.
Does not involve priority passes.
Uses it to tap for some mana,
Yep.
activate the mana ability.
Yep.
And then he's going to go ahead and activate Chromatic Sphere.
Chromatic
That
Sphere.
mana ability from the land does not pass priority.
Yeah, this is
No.
a mana ability from the land.
Yep.
So tapping for white in this case does not cause pass priority.
So now, and this is something I learned very recently, Chromatic Sphere is a very fun card.
Yeah, it really is. It really
the way that
is.
it reads is add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, draw a card.
Yes.
And we're going to teach you a little something new as well. So we mentioned earlier, mana abilities do not use the stack, they do not pass priority.
Correct.
This was well established. So mana abilities must meet 3 criteria in order to be considered a mana ability.
Yes.
They must be able to add mana to your mana pool,
Okay, like Chromatic Sphere does.
like Chromatic Sphere. They must not be a Planeswalker ability,
Yeah, not a loyalty ability.
not a loyalty ability, and they must not have a target.
Yeah.
So as long as it meets those 3 criteria, it is considered to be a mana ability.
Yeah.
Chromatic Sphere is not a Planeswalker loyalty ability. It does not target a player, and it does not target a player or a spell or any permanent
Or anything.
or anything, and it adds mana to your mana pool.
Yeah.
So even though you draw a card off of it, Chromatic Sphere is a mana ability.
Yeah. It's kind of dumb.
Even though, yeah, so
Now they fixed it when they reprinted it with a different name. They have Chromatic Star. Chromatic Star is not a mana ability. Well, it does have a mana ability. The thing that adds mana to your mana pool is a mana ability, but the thing that draws you a card is a triggered ability that happens after it triggers after you put it in your graveyard. So that is a much better way to do that type of effect, because the drawing a card isn't part of the mana ability then.
yes, so activating Chromatic Spheres, correct?
Sphere is the one that is a mana ability.
Okay.
The drawing.
I wanted to make sure I was saying the right thing.
Yeah.
So drawing that card and gaining that mana from the Chromatic Sphere is a mana ability.
Yeah.
I still don't get priority.
Right.
So he'll cast Jace.
Yeah.
So while Jace is on the stack there, he'll retain priority. It's his spell. Do you want to do anything with it?
Nope.
Nope. So I'll get priority.
Finally.
If I wanted to Fatal Push something, or Peak, or any other instant, then I would have the opportunity to do so now. I'm not going to bother.
This is the kind of incident that you would probably want to play in response to.
Because I see that his Jace is coming down with 3 loyalty counters. I don't know which Jace it is. I'm just going to say it has 3.
all the good Jaces have 3.
So I'm going to say it has 3, and I know I have this Skullcrack in hand.
Yeah,
so I'm thinking, ooh boy, I'm going to get him.
Got that gotcha.
He's going to waste all of his turn playing this Planeswalker, and I'm going to snipe it right out from under him.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pass priority. I'm going to let it resolve.
All right.
So Jace comes down.
Jace resolves. Now who gets priority first?
So now that his spell has resolved, it goes back to the active player.
Yeah. Now this is important, because this is exactly the sort of case where both people want to act at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm gonna want to activate a loyalty ability of Jace, and he's gonna want to cast
I wanna kill
Skullcrack. And it isn't possible if he acts first, and if he gets to play the Skullcrack before I do a loyalty ability. Loyalty abilities are sorcery speed, which means that I won't have a chance to activate a loyalty ability before Jace dies, if that is how it works. But fortunately, it's my turn, which means that I get priority after a spell resolves. After Jace resolves, I'm going to get priority. And because I've played Legacy before, I'm using the +2 ability on Jace the Mind Sculptor to do this look at the top card of their deck, even though my soul aches a little bit for the drawing 3 cards and putting 2 back.
Would you like to know what it is?
Yeah, what is it?
It's a swamp.
It's a swamp. Yeah, you keep it. No problem.
So, if I want to Skullcrack, I have to hope that David, for whatever reason, chose not to activate his Planeswalker's ability.
So wait, why is that? Shouldn't the 2 counters be added to Jace as part of the resolution of the ability?
No. So, if you look carefully at a Planeswalker card...
Yeah, any Planeswalker card will have it.
Any
like
of
this.
them. Right after the plus or minus
Arrow
X
thingy,
number
yeah.
on the Planeswalker's card, there's colon in there.
Yeah.
So the colon in Magic is the grammatical colon. Is used to refer to an activated ability.
Yeah.
So that ability goes onto the stack only after all costs are paid. In this case, it is putting counters onto Jace. So if it comes in with 3 and he adds 2 in order to activate that ability, Jace will have 5 counters on it before my Skullcrack will resolve.
Yeah, and in fact, before you even have priority to cast the Skullcrack, because it's part of the cost of playing the loyalty ability. Did you know that there's a place in the CR where it explicitly says that, like, the arrow symbol with a, +2 or whatever, it specifically defines that as meaning put 2 loyalty counters on this permanent?
Huh.
Yeah, there's a spot in the CR where it actually defines that. So,
ladies and gentlemen, there's one person who would know that.
oh, come on, guy. There's got to be, well,
Like
one person,
3 other
one
people.
person in the basement maybe, but now all of you guys do. So, so
Spoiled
that's
our hiding spot.
That's the questions. That's the Jace fun stuff question. Anybody in the chat have any questions or comments that you'd like us to address here? We're gonna stay online for another few minutes here to give everybody a chance to make sure that they have their questions answered. But that was all the material that we had prepared beforehand for timing and priority. So I hope everybody had a great time. I hope everybody
Learn something.
because that's what we're in the business of doing here. And let's just say I taught him a lesson real bad about some timing and priority.
Ouch.
Here,
So, anyways, while we're waiting for a few questions here, David, why don't you tell them how to make us a priority?
Yeah? Well, there's a few things you can do to support. If you like Judge Channel, then, which we obviously hope you did, there are lots of ways that you can connect with us. If you have us on Facebook, you can contact us through the Great Lakes Judge Regional Group on Facebook, or you can just DM us if you have us as friends. If you don't, then I'm available. The email for this channel is judgingftw@gmail.com. If you want to follow us on Twitter, then you can follow @judgingftw, and before every broadcast we will be putting a tweet up to notify you that we're going online. And of course, make sure that you follow on Twitch judgingftw, which is the site that you're watching right now.
Hopefully you can find it. You've found it once.
Yeah, so that is all of the material that we had, and that is all of the plugging ourselves that we could put up with for one day.
Oh boy.
Join us in 2 weeks' time where we will be doing our next broadcast. And what are we going to be talking about then?
I don't know.
So you're passing priority. We'll be talking about casting a spell, which is something that I can do now that he's passed priority to me. We'll be.
But David,
Yeah.
isn't casting a spell like super easy?
Well, you would think that, but just like timing and priority, it's the sort of thing that everybody is able to easily grok, but there's also a lot of extra steps, and judges of course
boy.
have to be familiar with all of the steps, even the ones that don't happen for every specific spell. So yeah, join us on Thursday, January 25th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and we'll be talking about casting a spell. Until then, this has been Dave Eldon and Dalton Grimes talking about timing and priority, and we hope all of you have a good night.
Yep. See you guys.